Welcome to the Love and Sex Today show with Dr. Doug Weiss. Doug has been healing hearts and relationships for decades. He's helped thousands of people release the shame and the guilt, restoring hope, helping people get free from addictions to enjoy a better sex and love life. Here he is, your host, Dr. Doug Weiss.
Welcome to Love and Sex Today. I am Dr. Doug Weiss, and I am here for our 30th conversation. This is going to be a very unique conversation. You're going to need to listen to this podcast and the next one. Our topic today is called the emotional externalizer, and the next one is going to be the emotional internalizer. This comes straight out of my book, Emotional Fitness, which is a great book to help anyone go from wherever they are emotionally to emotionally successful. There's nowhere in our culture, I have 4 degrees, nowhere in our culture where we learn to have our feelings, to identify and communicate them intelligently. And that can affect all of our relationships, all of our love. And yes, it can affect your sex life as well. Well, I want you to go to loveandsextoday.com. I want you to subscribe there. Write a review on iTunes for us. iTunes is a great place to write a review, and it really helps other people to see what shows they want to listen to. So you help others out by doing that. Also, one of you will be selected once a month for a private conversation with myself. And those have been fun and engaging, and really like to get to know you and see if there's something that we can connect on and maybe encourage you. Also get a free chapter on the webpage of one of my books. Now, I want to talk about this emotional externalizer, because basically there's 2 ways to do your emotions, externally or internally. Now, today, I'm only going to have enough time to cover the external emotional person. Now, this is someone that you may know, someone you work with, someone that's in your family, or someone you're married to. And if you know this, there's ways of getting them help. And today we're just going to talk about the issue. And we don't really have time to get into all of what it would take to shift somebody, because that takes work. And I would recommend you get the Emotional Fitness from Challenge to Champion in 60 days. That book has been changing lives all over the world. Now, the externalizer has about 11 key ingredients here. So I'm going to really go fast through these so you can just go, oh, that's me, or oh, that's what's going on in my marriage or my relationship, or that's why this person at work acts so strange. Okay, so let me go through these. The emotional externalizer, they have some core beliefs. One of them is they're not responsible for their feelings. Somehow, they are not responsible for how they feel. Now, that's an interesting belief. Number 2, others make them feel. You make me angry. You make me crazy. I don't feel safe around you. A really big one. Safety is something you give to yourself. It's not something the environment or others can give to you. It's a feeling. The emotional externalizer will tend to blame. Not just about feelings, but generally about most things. Because the externalizer is pushing the feelings out into the environment, okay? They're not looking inside, they're looking outside. So blaming you for their feelings is a very, very common dynamic. And if you feel blamed in your relationship, if that's going on a lot, you might want to look up intimacy anorexia as well. But blaming is really, really common. Number 4, being the victim. Somehow, even if they're the one who has perpetrated the issue, created the problem, or was irresponsible, somehow they're the victim in this set of circumstances. I'm amazed at how rapid this little guy comes up in the externalizer, where they can play the victim almost instantaneously. Somehow their brain figures out how they were victimized, even though they were 100% the perpetrator of the irresponsibility or the issue that's at hand. Being the victim is a big deal. Being critical, okay, because they're looking at their environment. They're constantly critical of others in their life. And if you're married to someone who's constantly critical, if you're in a long-term relationship with someone who's really critical, you know the wear and tear it is on your soul. You can't win, because the object is to just find the photograph where you did something not up to their standards or their belief system, and then they start kind of picking at you. It's a very, very painful relationship to be in. The emotional externalizer really is very adolescent or younger emotionally, but they might be 70 years old. They're very easily offended. And I can tell you, especially if it comes to trying to bring up an issue about themselves, because basically they're wonderful and you're supposed to be validating that like you would a child, but very easily offended. Not saying hello to them can offend them. Not being included in something which it would be irrelevant for them to be included. But just any sideways thing, they can get really, their feelings get hurt really easy and they get really offended. Number 7, primitive responses. This is the 50-year-old who's slamming doors. This is the 60-year-old who's cursing up a storm. And we're talking about primitive responses to life and challenges of life. Sometimes you're in a situation publicly and you see this, 50, 60-year-old man or woman just kind of going off like a teenage child. And it's like king baby. It's like, really? I mean, if you want to see the externalizer, just go in an airport that's shutting down because of weather. I mean, these people act like, wow, the whole world revolves around them. It's really crazy stuff. So because of the primitive responses, you can see number 8, anger and sadness will be very, very familiar to both. Anger is the attempt to try to get things to shift, to move into a direction. And if they don't, they pout. The emotional externalizer is very challenged emotionally. And this makes them very vulnerable to a lot of things, which takes me to point number 9. Makes them gullible. Because their emotions seem to be outside of them, someone can manipulate them really quickly, emotionally, sexually, financially, and having their opinion carry more weight than it probably should. And so being gullible is a characteristic. They're prone to medicate, number 10. Proning to medicate. Now, this takes us down the road, which I deal with every single day, which is addiction. They might medicate by sitting in front of a television all day. They might hoard. They might smoke. They might do pot. They might drink a lot. They might medicate through other means. But some form of medication. I met a young man recently in his 30s who couldn't go through his day without activating 3 or 4 addictive behaviors. He would definitely be an externalizer as far as emotional fitness. I mean, he can't regulate his emotions. So what he does is he uses addiction processes to medicate his daily existence. And his life isn't that hard. It's just not that hard. But because he can't manage feelings, he can't control them or identify them or communicate them, he stays in a constant state of emotional constipation, a constant state of externalizing emotions to those around him. And he's not fun to be with, not fun at all. Lastly, passive aggressive. The externalizer will tend to be passive aggressive in their relationships. And so maybe they won't confront you verbally. They might be more passive about it and not like pick up after themselves. And there's piles of laundry and they won't do anything, or they'll see things that need to be done, but they won't do it. They won't help you with the kids. They won't get off the computer. They have to be with their friends, like as if they're 16 years old. So the emotional externalizer is someone who is like really emotionally stuck. And if you're married to this emotionally stuck person, it can be extremely wearing and tearing on your soul. So for some of you, you would feel married alone. For some of you, you would feel like, I have another child. I can't tell you how many men and women have told me that their spouse is like another child. You never know when they're going to go off. You can't make them happy. There's always something wrong. They're blaming and critical. It's constant. And the wear and tear on the soul is really, really huge. So if you're married to someone like this, you might want to get support for yourself before you take on the challenge of them. If you need to talk to a counselor, Heart to Heart Counseling Center, the phone number is 719-278-3708. We'd love to chat with you. Or go to the webpage and send us an email, loveandsextodaypodcast@gmail.com. And if you are an emotional externalizer, it's time for you to really evaluate this because you're hurting people. You're hurting yourself. It is hard work to initially start learning how to identify and communicate and feel your feelings. But once you can feel your feelings, you can mature and you can move around and you can be stronger and you can be more helpful in your relationships. You can be more authentic because you know that you're able to manage the feelings. This is hard work, but it can be done in 60 days. The book is Emotional Fitness. You can change your life, which can change your relationships, which I can tell you, if you are the emotionally externalizer, the amount of effort it takes to be in a relationship with you is a lot. And you're asking a lot for other people to keep helping you grow up. instead of taking the time, maybe you have some past issues, some family of origin, some sexual abuse, some abandonment, or you've been raped, or there's been some other trauma that you're not dealing with. And so it keeps you kind of jacked up emotionally. Okay, it's time to get some counseling and move through that so that you can be awesome. I've worked with many people who've done the emotional fitness work and have been able to manage their feelings. For some, it was fear. For some, it was anxiety. For some, it was not feeling safe. For some, it was feeling other strong feelings. And once they realized they could feel them, they could hold them, they could shift them, it totally changed their life to be able to become more emotionally mature. Well, this is a great topic, and our next podcast will be on the emotional internalizer. That will be really helpful for you to see these two back to back, compare them, and you can see where you are. And I really want you to have great love and sex. That's why we do this podcast every single day for you. And please go to loveandsextoday.com, subscribe there, review us on iTunes, and one of you will be chosen for a private conversation with me. And also, there's a place there where you can ask questions. I would love to hear your real heartfelt question and put it on the podcast and be able to address it so everyone can benefit from your question. Please do that. That's been a great thing to do. We're really looking forward to hearing from you on that. Also, there's the free chapter on the webpage, Love and Sex Today. Remember, always have great love and great sex today.
That's it for our episode of Love and Sex Today with Dr. Doug Weiss. Head on over to loveandsextoday.com and be sure to subscribe to the show on iTunes. When you do, and you post a review on iTunes, some lucky listener is going to win every single month a private confidential coaching call with Dr. Doug Weiss. Also, feel free to ask any question you like. You can push a button, speak your question, and Dr. Doug will answer your question in a future episode. So be sure to subscribe to the show. Doug's got some great gifts for you, and we will look forward to seeing you next time.